Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited. Isis, Escape from Transylvania. The goddess next door and John Haynes must escape a horde of vampires on the hunt in this horror-filled Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Escape from Transylvania in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. Last week we had another one of these beta males participate in another mass shooting. And this beta male, Demetrios Patagoras, decided he was going to take a shotgun and a revolver out of his father's gun closet, drive down to Santa Fe High School, and participate in a mass shooting where he murdered 10 of his classmates and 2 of his teachers in a shooting rampage. And one of the motives many people believe for this shooting rampage was the fact that Demetrios Patagoras was rejected and humiliated by one of the girls he murdered, a girl who he wanted to date. And when he got rejected, many people believe that this was the trigger that led to this mass shooting. Now, they say that this Demetrios Patagoras individual, that he was one of these quiet kids who stayed to himself, and he was very distant from the other kids. Now, there are children out there who are quiet and distant, but that does not make them mass shooters. But when I take a look at this young man's profile, what makes him a mass shooter is the same thing that made Elliot Rodger and Nicholas Cruz mass shooters, in the fact that this individual was, as I see it, living in his own world. And when it comes down to a lot of beta males out there, what they will do is they will live in their own world. And that world is a world that is seen through rose-colored glasses. Now, this is something I talk about in my book, Stop Simping, Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance, in depth. And when it comes down to the rose-colored glasses that a lot of these beta males are wearing over their eyes, they distort the picture of reality. And in that picture of reality, everything is askew. So their world and their worldview is a distorted one. And they're living in a world where they have built up fantasies regarding people. And it looks like to me that this Demetrios individual, he had built up a fantasy around this young woman. And he had built this fantasy around this young woman. And he had this idea in his mind regarding this female. And when he went to finally muster up the courage to approach this female and talk to her as a real person, he then got rejected. And when he got humiliated, it wound up, shattering his picture of reality. And when it comes down to a lot of these beta males, when their picture of reality, it gets shattered, what happens is that's when they want to destroy the world around them. And that's what leads to a lot of these beta males out here going out here to participate in these mass shootings. When they see their picture of reality shattered, then they want to go out here and destroy other people's lives. Now, some people said that they saw this Demetrios as a ticking time bomb. And this is something I have talked about in many other videos where I talked about mass shooters, because many of them are ticking time bombs. And what's scary about many of these beta males is that no one knows when they will go off or what will set them off, because it could be anything that could set these guys off. Because again, when it comes down to the beta male is someone who has not been taught how to live in reality. No, they live in a world of rose-colored glasses, and they want to live in what many call the smooth world. Now, in the smooth world, they want to have no problems, no conflicts, and no obstacles. And they want to make efforts to avoid conflicts, problems, and obstacles. And what happened with this Patagoras, I believe, is that he ran into the first major obstacle of his life when this girl rejected him. And he couldn't, because he did not know how to navigate through his emotions and deal with his feelings regarding this rejection, what he decided to do was, again, destroy the world around him. And this is what beta males do, because when it comes down to beta males, there usually are no men to sit down and talk to these young boys or teach them about the world around them. Now, yes, this Demetrios did have his father in his life, but it was clear to me from his behavior that his father did not sit him down and teach him a life lesson regarding women. And he probably didn't even talk to his father about it because he probably didn't believe he could talk to him about it. But this is something that every boy has to deal with. It was something I had to deal with personally when I was 12 years old and I tried to talk to a girl and she vehemently rejected me and humiliated me as she rejected me. And I had to learn how to just suck it up, brush it off, and move on. Unfortunately, when it comes down to a lot of these beta males, they never learn that hard lesson and they never learn how to deal with their feelings regarding that hard lesson in the same way I had to learn how to deal with it at 12 years old, 13 years old, 14 years old, 15 years old. And it was those lessons that taught me how to have discipline and resolve because with each rejection, again, your skin gets thicker and you decide to just deal with it and move on instead of just you trying to lose your mind over somebody you build a world around. Now, one of the things that makes beta males' mistakes is this, that they build worlds around people instead of dealing with the fact that in reality, people can say no to you. And if they say no to you, it's not a bad thing. It's just a part of life. It just means that this person isn't interested, and you have an opportunity to go out here and pursue a relationship with someone who actually is interested. And one of the big mistakes that beta males make, again, is that they build worlds around people, they create fantasies about people, and they don't see the reality regarding the people around them. And that's what makes a lot of these beta males extremely dangerous, is the fact that they live in this fantasy world and they don't live in reality and they don't see real people. Now, I believe if this Demetrios Patagoras had been sat down by a man or a group of men and talked to about women, maybe that could have saved the lives of those 10 people, and maybe it wouldn't have destroyed the life of this young man, because as I see it, he had a lot going for him. Unfortunately, he couldn't see the bigger picture as related to life. He put his whole world around this about this girl, and then he destroyed her life and his own life and the lives of others, all because he couldn't have the fantasy come to life. Now, when I look at the big picture of this young man, he only had a couple of weeks before he graduated high school. He would have gone on to the military like he wanted to with the Marines, or he could have gone on to college. And in those places, he would have had numerous opportunities at relationships with women. Unfortunately, because he did not get taught the life skills that men are supposed to be taught at an early age, he wound up destroying the lives of others, and he wound up destroying his own life in the process. Now, this Demetrios said he wanted to kill himself, but he didn't kill himself because when it comes down to a lot of these beta males, they often have these fantasies about these things, but when they have to deal with the reality, that's when we see how much of a coward some of them are. And this Demetrios, after he participated in this mass shooting, just couldn't muster up the courage to kill himself, and he didn't kill himself because he was just scared of the fact that he would not be seen as this icon, out here like many of these mass shooters want to be seen. Because one of the other reasons why a lot of these mass shooters participate in these mass shootings is because they want attention and they want people to talk about them. And when it comes down to these mass shooters, again, this is why I believe we need to stigmatize them as terrorists so that they cannot use mass shooting as some sort of social currency to get attention, because their attempts to get attention show us how deeply troubled they are. And I believe if we put some sort of negative connotation to it, a lot of these guys would be discouraged from participating in these mass shootings, because what would happen is no one wants to be associated with terrorism, and this is what they're doing, terrorizing people, because they can't live the fantasy that they want to make reality. Now, when it comes down to these beta males, again, I have said before that this is going to get worse before it gets better, because we have so many millions of these beta males out here who have either been raised in single parent households or households with beta male fathers, and because they have been raised up in a beta male way, many of these beta males are ticking time bombs And what's really scary is we don't know when they will go off, how they will go off, or why they will go off, or what type of violence they will participate in when they wind up going off overall. And that's why we have a man crisis here in America, because many of these young boys have not been raised with the life skills to become healthy, functional, responsible young men. And until we start getting more men involved in the lives of boys, I believe that this trend is going to get worse instead of better, because when it comes down to this man crisis, we don't have anybody acknowledging the problem or focusing on building a constructive solution towards rebuilding the American family. We have more people talking about gun control when the real problem we have is parents aren't teaching boys and young men self-control. If you'd like to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to learn more about how to stop simping and how to deal with dysfunctional beta male behaviors like simping, you can pick up Stop Simping and the Simp series books on Amazon.com. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.